Okay, so it's the weekend after, and yeah, I'm making headway. This wire is now the ground for my mass airflow sensor, because wherever I have that grounded is a poor ground, and it was throwing a code. So I had it running. I had 4 codes, one for the intake air temperature sensor, which is just a loose connection. I had 2 codes for the math, signal high and signal low at the same time, and throttle position sensor idle switch, which was just a calibration of the throttle position sensor. That was easy enough. Mass airflow was bad ground, that's cleared, and this was just poor connection. So it's running no engine codes, but it's very sluggish, and I will show you here. I should say I have the exhaust reconnected to. That was right to the floor. It really does not want to rev. So, I'm not going to see my engine lights out. So my immediate thought is the exhaust restricted? Is the cat, partially melted, or maybe the old 8 valve didn't bother it, but this one does bother it. Maybe my extension pipe is too far into the cat. Maybe my O2 sensor's stuck rich and the engine's leaning out. I think I'm going to start with exhaust restrictions. The front of the cat on this has a little bung with a plug in it for an O2 sensor. It's a universal cat somebody put in it some time ago. The plug's at the front of the cat, so I'm going to pull that, see if it runs any better. And then beyond that, if that doesn't work, I'll undo my exhaust pipe, see if it runs better. And beyond that, get a reading from my O2 sensor, see if it's lean rich, see if it's switching. And if it's going lean, then I gotta look into fuel delivery. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So sucks that it's raining today, but we're gonna try and get it running because this thing's been down for too long, in my opinion. Okay, let's try that. No different. So just to eliminate the possibility, I've installed the evap purge control and the EGR control vacuum solenoids. Some nice solder job there, just to eliminate the variable. We're gonna go try that next. Nope, it's still very sluggish. Alright, so just to check my bases, I'm recalibrating the throttle position sensor. So there's the stop screw down there and the throttle control, and you want to put a 0.026 inch feeler gauge between the stop screw and the valve, butterfly. And you got your voltmeter in there, you can't see that through the glare. And you want it on ohms across the bottom 2 pins. You can see I have a jumper, so I can do this one-handed. As I touch that's to the second pin, it's open. This is calibrating the throttle stop switch. What you do is you want to rotate the throttle position sensor until, well, basically if you rotate it counterclockwise, you'll get to a point where it'll read less than 300 ohms, usually less than 50, but you want less than 300 ohms. That tells us it's on idle. And then with your feeler gauge in there, rotate it counterclockwise until it just barely goes out of range, overload. And now, if I pull my feeler gauge out, go back on my pin, I've got 20 ohms on this one. That's how I know it's at idle. Well, it gave me a check engine light this time, so let's go see what it's flashing out as. Okay, so I got my jumper wire connected. Let's go give her a flash out. One, two, three, four. Nope. What was that? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So 33. One, two, three. 34. And back to my mass airflow codes. $51. That's a new one. And we're restarting. Let me look up what 50. So code 51 is an EGR code. Now I should be able to suck on this line to open the EGR valve and it should stall. There's very little change, almost like the EGR valve stuck open ever so slightly, and that's what's making her run like shit. So I'm going to pull that off and clean it out, and maybe temporarily bypass it and see if it runs any better. Okay, so I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but she's pretty plugged. And just to show you, there's a little diaphragm in there, and what I'll do is I'll put this vacuum line in my mouth again. Yeah, you can see that. That was gross. But you can see it moves. So I'm going to try and ream all that shit out of there. And hopefully that makes a difference. I got a lot of shit out of that thing. I'm doubtful that's the issue, but we'll go throw it in and try again. So I haven't cleared the codes yet, but that's with it back in. That was to the floor. So I don't think that's done it. Okay, so all the basics, external stuff seemed okay. And it's still running like crap, so I thought I'd check the timing marks. So I've got the crank pulley at 0. Distributor rotor pointing up, so number 1. If I pull back this top timing cover, that's where my cam timing mark should be. That's where it is. So hopefully I didn't fuck anything up. At no point running this engine did I hear valves hitting pistons. I don't know if it's an interference engine or not. I would assume it is, but I'm not sure. So, and then I don't even know if that crank pulley is accurate either. I could be, chasing my tail here, but regardless, this cover's got to come off, so that's what I'm going to do next. Fan, belt, front pulley. Hopefully I can wiggle the fan and the shroud out without pulling the rad. And, yeah, wish me luck. Okay, so, cam gears lined up, and crank gears lined up. Maybe half the tooth off, but it's lined up. So that must mean my rubber balancer must have slipped. I'm going to try and find a way to confirm that. Just to rule it out, I did a compression test. 195, 190, 175, and 195 on number 4. So that's like right on the edge of your 10% from highest to lowest. It'd be about 19.5. But it's over 150. That's all I want, and they're fairly even. Now, when I pulled the plugs out, 1, black, it's running pig rich. 2, does not look like it's been firing. 3 also does not look like it's been firing. And number 4 is black, pig rich. So, assuming we have, well, we have compression. So, it means we're getting air through here. It means valves are working and it's coming out. And so, spark and fuel. We'll check spark. If we have spark, then we've got a fuel issue. Perhaps a shorted injector. Plugged injector. It shouldn't be a plugged rail because I'm getting fuel to number 1. Number 4 being the front of the rail where the fuel comes in. Number 1 being where the regulator is. So it shouldn't be a plugged rail. It could be a plugged injector, could be shorted injector, could be, or I guess 2 shorted injectors. I guess worst case scenario, it's bad injector drivers in the ECU. But let's not go there yet. Let's make sure we have spark first. Okay, so I had my helper check for spark on these 2, number 2 and 3, and they are sparking. So I pushed them back in and I clicked them in extra tight. And I swear to God, if it wasn't firing on those 2 because they weren't pushed down all the way, I'm gonna go crawl in a hole and die. But, here goes nothing. Nope, it's still sluggish. Huh. So do you like my Noid light? It's a motorcycle turn signal. I don't know if camera doesn't always like to pick up LED stuff, but it is flashing. And with that number 2 injector unplugged, it runs about the same sluggishness. So it's firing that injector. I'll check number 3, which is my other concern, but I suspect it'll be firing that one too. And we're gonna have probably 2 clogged injectors. This one ohmed out at 14 ohms. So I don't suspect that they're dead. Probably just full of crap. Okay guys, I feel like a, not very smart. Okay, so on these sidekicks, on the 16 valve, the distributor rotates counterclockwise. I knew that. If you look back to previous clips when I was playing with timing, I knew which way to turn it to retard or advance it. However, when I was putting on the plug wires, for whatever stupid reason, I was putting plug wires on as if it was rotating clockwise. So I had 1, 3, 4, 2, which is the firing order, but it rotates that way. 1, 3, 4, 2. So all this extra bullshit is because I am stupid. But hey, it's doing its normal high idle, it's settling down. And that's normal. It's always the stupid shit. Just got back from a boot now that it's running properly. Now that the professional idiot has fixed the firing order. It runs good. Check engine light came on and then it lost a bunch of low end power. It's flashing 33 and 34, which is MAF sensor signal too low and MAF sensor signal too high. So there's probably something with this MAF sensor. If you look on Rock Auto, they give you two options, like two part numbers. One cross references to Suzuki and tracker stuff only. And one covers the same Suzuki and tracker stuff, but it also covers Mazda proteges. So this is a Mazda protege MAF, and maybe it doesn't like it. So, well, now that I know it runs good, I think I'm going to try. Well, I'm okay with spending the money to order the Suzuki specific MAF. But yeah, so anyway, I got some wiring to tidy up and a couple other little things. I got to connect to the coolant gauge. The wiring for the sensor goes straight to the computer, but I haven't connected the gauge yet. The oil pressure warning light is not hooked up yet, and neither is the charge warning light. But I'm happy to finally heard it run, and I'm only kind of embarrassed that I got the firing order wrong. So what I've done here is this is the connector from the original engine harness for the 8 valve. I just cut off, 2-3 inches, so I can connect things that go to things like the gauge cluster in the truck that don't necessarily go to the ECM, such as this. This is the oil pressure light. This is the sender for the temperature gauge, and this, I believe, is for the battery light. So I've just made a little jumper harness, and I've left everything else on it because there might be something else, because I happen to have 3 more wires coming from my engine harness that I'm not sure where they go. I'm thinking they might be possibly cruise control, but I have to look it up. And what I've done is I've put the ECU back up in its location. I've got these extra plugs here from the original ECU. I'll tie those up. And then I need to clip these relays back up onto the ECU. Thing is, these brackets are, they're in these relays. And the screws to take them out of the new ECU bracket, they're pretty tight, so it's pretty tight space, so I'll figure something out. And yeah, these old plugs from the old main relay and fuel pump relay. But yeah, so I'll tape up these connections, plug it in, and hopefully our gauges and warning lights work. Okay, so we're back from a little trip. The oil pressure warning light and the battery warning light work. Coolant gauge doesn't work, couldn't figure out why. Then I noticed the terminal snapped off. So, whatever, I got the sensor on the old intake. It's also developed a coolant leak that isn't showing itself right now, so I'll have to bring my pressure tester from home from work and check it. But I'm glad we got this thing running right. I think this MAF is throwing us off, so yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.